Hello, everyone. This is Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And you are listening to
The Doctor's Watcher, the podcast for enthusiasts of that thing where you kind of run your finger around the rim of a glass of water to make a musical note about every episode of Doctor Who.
Nice. Ooh. That's my imitation.
Nice.
So, how's it going, Kyle?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week at work, but today's Saturday, so I don't give a shit about that anymore.
Nice.
Yeah.
I sometimes find it helpful not to give a shit even on the other days.
Yeah, that's generally good policy too. So I watched the Section 31 movie this week. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that yet.
I haven't, because I've been super busy as well, but that is high on my list. I love Michelle Yeoh. I like the concept of Section 31. And yeah, I know a lot of people were kind of whining about it. Purists and whatever. But I am excited. I think it looks very cool.
Yeah, I won't say too much about it because I don't want to give you any spoilers or anything. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty entertaining movie to watch. I would definitely watch it again.
Awesome.
Yeah. Michelle Yeoh is definitely a highlight of it.
Nice. Yeah, she's fantastic in pretty much everything I've seen her in. I think she's great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my kind of basic understanding is that Section 31 was originally getting developed as a series, and I heard that they even wrote like a full season worth of scripts, but then the pandemic happened, and then Michelle Yeoh won an Oscar, and then they were like, hey, could you maybe still be in Star Trek? And she was basically like, maybe a movie, but maybe not a full series.
Yeah, that's disappointing, but I guess understandable.
Yeah. And yeah, with Michelle Yeoh, I'll take what we can get.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. So, what have you been up to lately other than your busy time at work?
Let's see. I guess we've talked a little bit about this off mic, but I've been playing Caves of Qud.
Oh, yes. And you pronounced it correctly. Excellent.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. I don't think I'd ever actually heard it said out loud before.
Yeah, I think I may have been saying it wrong before, but later I verified the devs do say could.
Oh, like nice.
Could. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I first started playing it, I was calling it Caves of Qud, and then my partner was like, that's probably not how it's meant to be said. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right.
Astute observation. Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. As you know, Ryan, it is a roguelike dungeon crawler. It is capital H hard.
Indeed.
It's fun in the Dwarf Fortress sense of fun. And yeah, my most recent game, I was doing pretty well. I think I had gotten up to like level 11 or maybe even 12 with my character, and then I got my head exploded by some psychic warriors.
Yeah, the novice of those, if I recall correctly. Man, those are so annoying. I'm playing a rogue, or what's it called, role-playing mode, which means if I die, I respawn at the last like city or town I went to.
Oh, nice.
Which still is like very punishing sometimes, depending on what you've been doing outside the town. But I'm at level 35, and I'm occasionally fighting. I can't remember like all their titles above novice. I think there's like Grand Masters or something are the ones I'm seeing of the Sightless Way, and those guys are very vicious. I didn't make a, high ego or high willpower build. My build is mostly ranged and single hand fighting with a sword.
Nice.
Sword and shield, actually. And yeah, those guys are tough. Sometimes I just have to run. A lot of times if you get off screen, they can't zap your brain. And then you can like wait for them to follow you and get close enough when they pop onto screen to gank them really quickly before they explode your brain.
Yeah, I think in retrospect, I was standing on a staircase when it happened, and I was like, shit, I should have just gone like back up the stairs. But yeah, it would just kind of happen like too quickly for me to really realize what was going on. You'd stop looking at your hit points for like 2 or 3 turns, and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Right. Like, oh crap. But yeah, staircase dancing is a time-tested roguelike strategy. And I use it when I can, for sure.
Yeah, I was on the 3rd strata deep of Grit Gate, and, I had killed a bunch of turrets on the 2nd stratum, so I'm like, sweet, I'm doing well, this is going great. And yeah, then not so much.
Yeah. I mean, even just the turrets sometimes really suck. Like, I have to usually like bull run them, and just take them out with my sword because I don't know, like, I think I need a better rifle because it is very useful for like softening things up at a distance. But like the sword I have one-shots a lot of stuff.
Nice.
And usually I can one-shot a turret or two-shot maybe. But there's some like, what are they, blast turrets, I think, that keep knocking you back. And those ones suck.
Oh shit!
You have to find a wall and like sneak around it till you're close enough to like charge. So yeah, good times.
Yeah,
it definitely makes you think. Like it's very strategic.
Yeah, I was doing the thing where like you run up behind a wall, getting shot a bunch of times in the process, and then I would just like stand there for 50 turns and let myself heal. 25 hit points worth, and then run up behind a closer wall and then stand there for 50 more turns. And
yeah, it's a good thing those things can't move. But like have you encountered any of those, what do they call them? I think turret tinkers or whatever.
I don't think I have yet.
They suck. They're easy to kill. Usually there are these guys that run around just dropping turrets all over the place.
Oh, shit.
So, like, when you see one, you got to take him out ASAP, because if you don't... and, like, usually they run, too, so it's kind of hard sometimes to kill them. I mean, it's easy when you can kill them, but, like, it's hard to chase them sometimes. And, yeah, if you end up chasing that guy for very long, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Right on, well... Daleks are kind of like turrets that can move.
Yeah, true. That's true. And they spawn.
That's true. They are doing a lot of that in this serial.
Right. So,
shall we talk about it? Season 4, episode 13, The Power of the Daleks, episode 5.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Nice. So, this episode, I'm still just going with the official animation on BritBox. I did, take a few minutes to briefly look for either the color version of the animation or the special edition of the animation, but I didn't find them, but I also didn't really look very hard, so...
Fair enough.
But yeah, I figured, these animators who worked their asses off for 5 months when they thought they would have 10 months, I'll put in the time to watch the results of their efforts.
Yeah, that's appreciable. Or respectable, both.
Do you remember our Cliff Dingler from episode 4?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Basically, to sum it all up, the Daleks had been breeding. Or, I guess that's probably not the right term. They had been manufacturing more. After their conniving to get all sorts of extra materials and saying they were going to build a computer, which I guess isn't totally false, but they're not really building a weather computer per se.
Uh-huh.
It's more like murder computers, like
Nice.
we have right now.
And if you might think that your murder computer is going to take like tens or hundreds of billions of dollars to build, maybe just outsource it to China.
Right? You'd think, and I can't wait for this to definitely happen in real life, but you'd think that China might put something in there like, yeah, but you can't use them against us.
Uh-huh.
You didn't notice this part of the code or whatever. I don't know.
So yeah, our kind of idiot scientist Lesterson, who is just completely enamored with the Daleks up to this point, he has gotten into the space capsule and he's discovered this whole Dalek production line. And this is not what he wanted to see and not what he expected to see. So he leaves the space capsule. He's kind of freaking out. He closes the capsule door, and then his assistant Janley shows up in the lab, and he tells her that he saw the Daleks duplicating themselves, and he goes and he turns the power generator off.
They forget that I control them. I gave them life back again. And now I've taken it away. Finished it. Stopped it.
Hmm. Seems likely.
Uh-huh. Yeah, just flip the power switch. It's all fine. He tells Janley that he's going to use laser torches to basically melt the Daleks down. And she's like, no, you're fucking not. But he tells her that he doesn't care if she tells everyone that he killed Resno. Like, he's gonna wipe out the Daleks one way or the other. It doesn't matter what the consequences to him personally are, basically.
Bit late, but okay.
Uh-huh. So she leaves. Lesterson tries to reach the examiner on the phone, which of course we all know is the doctor, but he's not able to reach the examiner. And then the space capsule door opens and a Dalek comes rolling out, and Lesterson's like, what the fuck? I turned the power off. And the Dalek says,
We can store power. We will soon have our own.
Yep. Batteries, Lesterson. Batteries.
So the Dalek starts asking him, like, why the door to the space capsule was closed, and he basically just runs away, leaves the laboratory and runs.
Smart choice, finally, again.
Uh-huh. A second Dalek rolls out of the capsule, and the first Dalek tells it to seal off the secret entrance, and also gives it a warning.
No more than 3 Daleks to be seen together at any one time. I obey. We are not ready yet to teach these human beings the law of the Daleks.
Jeez, that is shaping up not so good for the kids.
So Lesterson's basically just like running through the corridors looking for the examiner. Janley shows up back at the laboratory with an engineer named Kebbel and also with Polly, who's in this episode.
Oh, hope her vacation was nice.
So Janley explains to the Dalek that Polly is against them. And Polly's like, hell yeah, I am. You should be too. And Janley says that the Daleks will help them. Polly assumes that Janley means that they'll help, like, the rebel group, basically. And she's like,
and when you've won, the Daleks will just go back to being servants again. You're bigger fools than I thought.
We are your servants.
While it suits you.
Kebbel basically pushes Polly into the space capsule, and he goes in with her to guard her, while Janley and the Dalek discuss how Daleks are powered by static electricity, and they need this other engineer, Valmar, to come lay a new power cable for them. But now that they basically don't have any opposition, that should be pretty easy to arrange. The Doctor, meanwhile, is still locked up in prison with Quinn, who, of course, is the guy that the colonists think killed the actual examiner and, like, wrecked the communications equipment and all this shit. The Doctor has tried using his dog whistle to open the basically door of the prison cell, because it was sonically operated.
Right.
But the dog whistle didn't work. So now he's doing that thing where you run your finger around the rim of a glass of water to make it ring.
Nice.
Yeah, this is really starting to annoy Quinn, though.
You have to do that. I'm afraid you'll find these locks are foolproof.
But, you know, it's not really working. The Doctor's doing the thing, but apparently he's, like, not hitting the correct musical note or something. And, you know, he wants to add more water to the glass in order to produce a different note, but they don't have any water. There's a little bit of commotion outside the cell as Lesterson comes shoving past the guard into the prison area, and he tells the Doctor that he saw the Daleks duplicating and that they have their own power now. But before this can really go any further, one of the guards just, like, drags Lesterson away.
Well, at least he kind of got the message going.
Yeah.
the important part.
Yeah. There's still another guard around, so the Doctor asks this guard for some water, and the guard fills a pitcher of water for him, brings it over to the cell. The Doctor listens very closely when the guard opens the cell door to, like, hand the pitcher of water into him. And then after the guard leaves, he pours the water into his glass and starts rubbing his finger around the rim some more and produces a sound that is very nearly the correct note. It's, like, very close.
Nice. I wish we had, like, wine glasses or something right now to attempt it.
Yeah, all I've got is a metal water bottle, and I don't think it'll really work on there.
Yeah, all I have is my beer stein that I use for water, and I don't think that works either.
Lesterson gets taken to the governor's office, where the head of security, Bragan, is serving as acting governor, while the actual governor, Hensel, is out touring the perimeter of the colony. There's a Dalek here in the office laying a power cable. It's, a little bit unclear how the Daleks do things that require, like, dexterity.
Right. Is it just like pooping out the cable, or like, is it looped over the gun, or no, they don't have the gun arms, but looped over the plunger hand or something?
I think that was basically it. It's like we see it kind of driving around the office, and the cable is just kind of like over its plunger arm.
And how did it get there in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Big mystery, because they can't really bend over.
Right. Bragan thinks that the Dalek is doing this at Lesterson's order, and the Dalek basically agrees with this assessment, but Lesterson says that the Dalek is lying, and he says that he can explain everything if Bragan will get rid of the Dalek. So Bragan tells the Dalek to leave, and it does.
I am your servant.
But, like, before Lesterson really has a chance to explain anything, Janley shows up in the office, and she starts talking about how Lesterson is not well, and he promised her that he would go to the hospital. He says that he never promised that. He's denying all this. And she's just like, oh, it's okay. I understand.
You're trying to say I'm mad?
No, of course
not mad.
No.
But yeah, obviously that's clearly what they're implying.
At first I kind of liked the Resistance, but Janley is not really giving them a good face, or,
Yeah.
She's not too likable anymore. She's kind of conniving and dirty on her own.
Yeah, definitely. So he insists that he saw the Daleks duplicating, and Janley's basically just like, no, you didn't. That's crazy. That's wild. And Bragan decides that probably Lesterson should be restrained. Hey folks, and welcome to the mid-roll. This is the part of the podcast where I ask you if you're enjoying what you're hearing, and if so, I suggest that you might tell your friends, and you might leave us a nice rating and review on the podcast rating and review site of your choice. That's all I've got for you here, and now back to the show. We cut back to the space capsule where Polly is just kind of sitting on the floor as Valmar works on a power connection, and this other engineer, Kebbel, and a Dalek are just watching.
Pass me that small screwdriver.
I can't. My hands are tied. Anyway, I wouldn't help you even if I could.
She starts insulting them for pushing a girl like her around, and she says that she would really like to see them go up against someone like Ben. And they reveal to her that they've actually got Ben locked up.
Oh.
Of course, in the previous episode, if you remember, he got knocked unconscious and dragged away, basically.
Yep. And it's kind of sad to see the patriarchy even seeps into the minds of those that it affects most negatively.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is definitely sort of in the context of, like, you're picking on this poor, weak little girl like I am, and if only there were a big, strong man like Ben, I'd like to see you face off against him. And yeah, that felt a little bit gross.
Yeah.
She starts telling them that the Daleks will turn on them. Kebbel doesn't really seem concerned about this. He doesn't give a shit. But Valmar maybe is a bit concerned.
You want the Daleks to fight the governor.
Don't you see? They'll turn on you, too.
What, 3 big pepper pots?
One of them did kill Resno. And you saw what the Dalek did to that sheet of metal.
She explains to them that the doctor is not really the examiner. The real examiner was killed, and that the only reason she and Ben and the doctor even stuck around at all, instead of just like immediately G'ing TFO, is to deal with the Daleks, which have the power to exterminate entire nations.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, basically. Velmar has a real leopards eating people's faces party moment here. He's like,
But what would they want to kill us for after we've taken over? We're friendly with the Daleks.
I never thought they'd eat my face.
uh-huh. Polly's just like, fuck that. The Daleks don't have friends. Governor Hensel returns to the base. His colony tour is finished or whatever, and sees all these new power cords laying around everywhere, and, you know, asks a guard about them. And the guard says that they're a new emergency power supply. Hensel asks whose idea that was. The guard's like, what the fuck do you care? And Hensel's like, because I'm the fucking governor of this colony.
Duh.
He asks the guard why he has a gun. And the guard says that he's a squad leader in Bragan's guard. And Hensel's like,
oh, I see. Bragan's guard, eh? All right, carry on.
Hensel. Think, buddy.
uh-huh. Yeah, that seemed a little bit short-sighted. We cut back to the prison. The doctor is still rubbing his finger around the rim of his water glass. I guess, presumably, he doesn't have his recorder on him or something.
Right. Is he just like taking small sips in between to get the perfect tone?
The guard comes over to complain about the noise. So the doctor stops what he's doing. I guess he does have his recorder on him because he actually starts playing his recorder at this point. And the guard is annoyed and distracted by this. And while the guard is distracted, turns out the cell door has actually already been unlocked by the water glass, like off camera between scenes. So Quinn quietly sneaks out of his cell and sneaks up behind the guard and knocks him out. You know, it's the sort of thing where, like, if you're in sneak mode and you approach the enemy from behind, then it's just like one button press and they're unconscious.
Nice. Yeah. The backstab move.
So he opens up the doctor's cell and they drag the guard into the cell. The doctor has the presence of mind to remember to grab the water pitcher and take it out of the cell.
We don't want him trying it, though he seemed a bit tone deaf to me.
Burn.
Hensel shows up back in his office. He surprises Bragan, who didn't expect him back until tomorrow. Hensel asks about what's been going on in his absence, like where the examiner is and all this stuff. And Bragan tells him that the examiner is in jail because they discovered that he's an imposter and possibly a murderer because they found the body of the real examiner in the mercury swamps.
So, quick side note, it really seems ineffective hiding bodies in the mercury swamps.
Yeah, it really kind of does.
Like, you'd think that, I don't know, maybe they're just not good at hiding them. Like, you'd walk for half an hour and, like, find a random, you know, mercury pool or whatever and chuck the body in.
Uh-huh.
But actually, now that I think about it, mercury is super dense, so bodies would just float.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That's probably the issue, is like you can't get them to sink.
Uh-huh. Yeah, if you don't want to like take the time to actually like dig a hole or something, you're just going to throw them into the swamp. Like that's not really going to work.
Right. It might like preserve them in a weird way.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's not going to sink.
Hensel is like, I don't know, this whole thing seems kind of sus to me. But Bragan won't talk about it anymore.
As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more to be said. So if there's nothing further...
Nothing further? Who the devil do you think you're talking to? Stand up when you're speaking to me, man.
I prefer to remain seated.
So Hensel orders the guards to remove Bragan from the office. Bragan's like, those are my guards, and I'm the governor now. And yeah, so they don't remove him. Hensel goes to leave the office himself, but the guards kind of close in and block his way. Like, we don't even get the moment where it's like Bragan tells the guards to arrest Hensel, and Hensel tells the guards to arrest Bragan, and then the guards have to like sit and think for a minute about where their loyalties lie. And like, we don't get any of that. They're just fully on Bragan's side.
Perhaps that hadn't been evolved in television storytelling yet. 'Cause that happens every damn time now.
Uh-huh.
Even if the guards aren't like sitting and thinking, you know, they pause for a minute for you to sit and think.
Right, yeah.
They know who they're loyal to.
Yeah, like you gotta drag the drama out for a few moments at least.
Right. Those pregnant drama moments.
Uh-huh. So Bragan summons a Dalek into the office and dismisses the guards. I guess the Dalek is kind of in place of the guards now. He tells Hensel that if Hensel cooperates, Bragan might even let him keep the title of governor. But Hensel's basically just like, fuck that and fuck you.
Nice.
Bragan takes this opportunity to reveal a Dalek gun arm, which he plugs into the Dalek that is in the office. And Hensel asks if it's a weapon.
I'll arrange a demonstration for you. Do you still refuse my offer?
I will not be intimidated.
So Bragan gives the order, and Hensel gets film negativized.
Oh, snap. Should have seen that one coming, Hensel.
Uh-huh.
Why do human beings kill human beings?
Get on with your work.
Yes, master. I obey.
You know, pretty valid question coming from, you know, an evil... They're kind of like evil communists or something in a sense. Like, they understand that each Dalek is worth, you know, more than each human or whatever. Like, they know the more Daleks, the better.
Right. Yeah, and, you know, they're like totally genocidal, but only against things that are not Daleks.
Right, right. And to clarify my earlier statement, not all communists are evil, but some are.
Very true. And on the other side of that coin, not all capitalists are not evil. But
but all are.
Uh-huh. Back in the lab, Quinn and the doctor are hiding under the workbench as Valmar and one of the Daleks exit the space capsule. Valmar asks why the Daleks can't just keep drawing their power, like, from the colony's power supply.
Until now, we have had to recharge from the colony's supply. With static power, the Daleks will be twice as useful.
Awesome.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the Daleks in this one.
Yeah, I love how they keep, like, almost slipping up into, like, you know, a chant or a rant, like they love to do. And then, like, quick 180 on that.
Janley rushes in to tell them that the governor is back. I guess she doesn't know yet that he's already been killed. So she and Valmar and the Dalek all leave the laboratory, which gives Quinn and the doctor the opportunity to come out of hiding under the workbench.
An electrical circuit of their own supplying static electricity. I wonder how much longer we've got.
Inside the space capsule, Engineer Kebbel is still holding Polly captive, but they can hear the doctor's voice from outside the capsule, and she gets far enough away from Kebbel to, have a moment to call out to warn the doctor. And then, of course, Kebbel grabs her again. The two of them leave the capsule. Quinn and Kebbel have a little fight scene here. Quinn nearly gets brained with a giant wrench, but he avoids this, and then he manages to shoot a laser at Kebbel's hand, and Kebbel drops the wrench, and then Quinn manages to knock Kebbel unconscious.
Why wouldn't he just keep lasering?
Yeah, I don't know. There's another Dalek at this point that rolls out of the capsule. So Quinn and Polly and the doctor all just run out of the lab, trying to get away from the Daleks. The doctor takes the wrench that was dropped, and he does that thing where he kind of puts it into the door handles. It's like a double door that open outward, and you put a wrench in the handle so then the doors can't open.
Nice. Technical term, throwing a wrench in the works.
Uh-huh. So the Dalek in the lab tries to leave the lab. It can't because of the wrench in the doors. It tells a second Dalek to basically head back into the capsule and report on what's happening to all the other Daleks. And then it just film negativizes the doors and blasts them open and rolls on out.
Nice.
Inside the space capsule, this Dalek tells all the other Daleks that they need to wait until the humans are infighting sufficiently. And basically that's the moment that they'll be able to make their strike. The whole group of Daleks all sort of raise their lens arms up toward the sky or the ceiling, I guess, because they're inside. So they all start looking upward as they start a group chant about extermination.
Oh, yes.
Quinn and Polly and the doctor make their way to the governor's office, where they discover the corpse of Hensel. And they kind of start to wonder among themselves why he was killed. And then Bragan shows up.
He wanted to destroy the Daleks, so one of them killed him. Now I'm declaring martial law. You'll be returned to prison and properly guarded this time.
The doctor points out that martial law is really not going to help them against the Daleks. But Bragan, of course, still thinks that the Daleks are his servants, so he doesn't really give a shit about what they're saying.
Yeah, typical authoritarian mistake there.
Yeah, he's still watching the Daleks eat the faces of everybody else and assuming that that's going to be sufficient. So Bragan has the guards take Quinn and Polly and the doctor away, and also to remove Hensel's dead body from the office. He doesn't tell them what to do with it. So I think we can only assume that they're going to go dump it in the mercury swamps.
Take him for a float.
So at this point, we are just about to the end of the runtime of the episode, but I guess David Whittaker didn't quite want to end on that note. So we cut back to the interior of the space capsule, where the Daleks officially receive their extermination orders and continue their group chanting.
Exterminate all humans! Exterminate! Annihilate! Destroy! Daleks conquer and 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 destroy!
And with that, the words on the screen say Doctor Who Patrick Troughton.
Oh, snap. I have to say the exterminate, annihilate, destroy is my favorite Dalek chant.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So succinct.
Uh-huh. Yeah, 3 words that describe exactly what they want to do. You don't need to get any more in detail.
Yeah, like I really like, for how simple kind of their motivations are. Like all they want to do is those 3 things. Like they still have the ability to be pretty subtle. And, I guess it could just be down to like, highly advanced strategic subroutines or whatever. But yeah, even though they're like, their motivations are just totally shallow, these are the bad guys and they want to do bad things. They're still so good at doing them.
Yeah, they really are, like kind of hiding what they're doing until it's too late. And yeah, convincing, I guess in this story at least, convincing people that like what they're doing is not actually what they're doing.
Right. Capitalizing on the luck of there being a coup at the same time that they want to begin exterminating.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like if the colony was just being like all peaceful and happy, then the Daleks would have to take on like the entire colony basically. But instead they can just wait for the humans to fight each other and then kind of go in and clean up the mess. Right.
Smart, efficient.
Totally.
Well, cool. That's, I very much enjoy how things are getting hotter and hotter. The humans are very much like the proverbial, frog being boiled in a pot or whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure that was debunked, that whole saying, but it's still kind of, a catchy saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I've also heard that it's debunked. Like, a frog would at some point realize this water is too hot for it and it would jump out.
Right. Like, duh. Frogs have nerves and stuff.
Yeah. So, you may have noticed that Ben did not appear in this episode at all.
Yeah, was it his turn for a vacay, or?
Yep, that's exactly it. Annika Wills got last week off. Michael Craze gets this week off.
Nice.
Yep.
I sort of wish we knew what they were doing on these vacations. Like, did they go to Mallorca or the Highlands, or, I want to know that part.
Right. Yeah, Polly shows up in this episode and they're like, wow, you got really tan while you were being held captive by Bragan and whatever.
Right. Oh yeah. Mercury poisoning.
So yeah, I think we've probably mentioned it before, but I do really enjoy how, like, whenever it's time for a cast member to have a vacation, they just kind of like write it into the script. Like, yeah, they're just not here this week.
Yeah, that is cool. Did they have, I wonder, like a, 1 episode per week schedule? Were they trying to, like, hit certain times and they're like, well, we got to have time off sometime.
I think that basically was it. Like, I think they were like, this was produced on a pretty tight schedule. And, given that we're still getting like, 30, 40 some episodes per season, like, to produce all that in 1 year, like, that is going to be pretty tight, and you're not going to have that much time off.
Yeah, right. I bet the people and, the editors and the sound techs and all, all the people in the background that do the post work are like, man, we wish we got a week off every few months.
Can't they write it into the script why the special effects suck this week?
Yeah, right.
So I also wanted to note on this episode in particular that at the time that we are recording this, there are 97 missing episodes of Doctor Who, and this episode was the 49th one. So that means that as of now, we are officially more than halfway through all of the missing episodes.
Nice. And I'd like to think that the fact that we're recording these sort of somehow, like, it's our best attempt to, like, make up for the fact that those episodes are missing. You can still kind of experience it in a new way.
Yeah. And, when I was first kind of conceiving of the podcast, I knew that missing episodes were a thing, and I was like, should we cover missing episodes or not? But I was like, no, like, the whole point of this podcast is that we cover every episode. Like, it doesn't matter if it's missing or not, we should cover it. And I'm sure there is a way to experience them as well as we can. So.
Right. Like, it's aiming to be a complete archive/analysis.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, thanks, Kyle. That was a good one. Thanks for telling me about the episode and describing all the awesome and crazy shit that happened within it.
For sure. And yeah, thank you for listening to me tell all about it.
And thanks to our listeners who I saw you picking your nose while you listened to this episode.
You think you listen to these in private, but...
But... we know. And thanks to Circuit 23 for the awesome music that whoever that is produced for these episodes.
Indeed. You are probably hearing that music now, listeners.
Nice, that rocks. Well, whilst you enjoy the awesome music, don't forget to leave 5-star ratings. Contact us on Blue Sky at the Doctor Watcher, I believe.
I don't think I used a the. I think it's just Dr. Watcher.
Dr. Watcher at Busky.social, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm still getting used to it.
And our email address does have a the in it and an S. thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com.
And for all of your musical needs, circuit.23@gmail.com. Or circuit23.busky.social. Whatever on Blue Sky.
Indeed. And if you would like to find out what happens next in The Power of the Daleks, then come back in 2 weeks.
Nice. We'll see you then, listeners. Bye.
To wait here until the human beings fight among themselves. Then we will strike and exterminate. 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 Exterminate.